So in this video what we are going to see is we are going to put some images in the database, in the MongoDB database, and we are going to use those images in the website which is actually created using Django. So this is what we are actually going to do in this particular video. So for that, the first thing which you have to do is that you have to make sure that you are getting the right, you have to create a virtual environment and you have to get started, right? So you need to create a virtual environment and you need to activate that, you need to install Django. So these are the usual steps which we need, right? And then we have to create a Django folder. So this is optional, this is up to you, like where you want to store, you can actually store that. But then after that you have to create a new new project. Okay, so we are creating a new project here. So once we create the new project, so if you could see here, it's very clearly understood. So you have a project, or so here you could see that this is the gallery block folder. So this is the project name and this is the main project settings. Okay, so and this is the application. Okay, so you have this gallery block which is the project and this is the application. So you will have multiple applications like this, if you could see. Okay, and yes, okay, so this is how it works. And now when you see this, so we have actually created the project, then you have to create the application. So there is a certain step that you have to follow for creating the application, right? So here this is the way that we will actually create the application. So here gallery image is the application. So if you could see, gallery image is the application here. Okay, so once we create that, when you look over here, you could see the complete setup. You have the gallery block with the initial files, and let me close all this so that you are not getting confused. And then you have this files, like this folder, gallery image. So the default files will be created as such. Okay, and after that, yeah, you can just try on with the run. You can run the server and see whether the Django is actually up and running. So if you could see this, that means that you are on the right path. And the other one is actually creating the super user. So if you want to create, so whenever you create a super user, that means that you are creating the admin account. Okay, so when you are actually initially doing the admin account, you can give some username and the password, and the super user will be created, right? So how can you access it? So you can actually access it by moving over to 120 blah 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 admin. Okay, so this is the way you can actually move on to the admin page. Let me see whether my is running. Okay, I'm just taking it here. So yes, admin. So I'm just logging in. Okay, what was the password? And once you log into the admin, then you could see all the users and the groups, and the users, you could see all the users and its corresponding, and you can actually change the name and save it, right? And then we need to start creating the application. So once you start creating the application, so you are actually using this, you have already created this in fact, so you can leave the step in fact. Okay, so you are actually creating the application here. So once you create the application, then you need to go to the settings.py. But understand here, the settings.py which you are actually talking about is this the main project settings.py. Settings.py could be seen only in the main project. In the project, if you could see, in the project, what you have to do is that the first thing which you have to do is you have to go to the installed apps. So in the installed apps, you need to add the image, gallery image. So this is the application. So this is also an application. So that's why it is called as an application. So you're actually adding this application in the installed apps in the settings.py of your main project, right? So this is the first step that you are actually doing here. So it is actually provided here how you have to give this, and these are all, you know, I mean, like you can select and copy paste and your code like that. And then the next one is actually your creating. So here always understand that when I write gallery image slash or gallery blog slash, you should be very careful about which one am I actually referring to. It's very, very important. The first one you are actually doing is that you are going to the application. In the application, you will not be able to see urls.py. You have to actually create it. So create this urls dot right click. You can actually right click here and create a new file. So urls.py. In that, what you have to do is that you are importing these two, and you are just giving a gallery list. Okay, views.gallery list. That means that the next one is you have to actually go to the views and create a view here. So this view is the one which we were actually talking about. We will actually learn in detail about the views a little bit later. There are different type of views which are available. So one is a list view, where you can actually list all the, say, the gallery objects, or you know, whatever it is. And then say if you could see, if you could go back to this, I mean, this is actually a list view where you know, you have the cow image. I mean, like the name is, title is there, the description is there, the image is there. Then again you have another image, so its title, its description, its image. Then you have another image, its description. So it's kind of a list view. Actually everything is actually listed, right? So this is called as a list view. Now if I have a button here where if I could click, or if this is a link, if I could click, and if I can go inside and see all these details, then I could say that, I mean, like it's about the details about one particular view. So that is nothing but a detailed view. Now if I want to create new views, I mean, like add a blog or add new images. So there is one, you know, in your website you have one particular tab called add new images, where you know, you have a set of you know, things where you could add images, right? So that is actually a create view. You are actually creating a view. So there are different types of things available in that. So here we are actually using the list view. Okay, so now once you have actually created this list view, so this is the list view which you have a request, and you will actually return something. So we will get to know what is all this. So you are basically creating some gallery objects here. So now once you have actually created this URL, now you have to tell your gallery block, your main project, that okay, start from here. Okay, so you know, whenever you get into this gallery block, you know, you start from here. So you need to tell the main project that, you know, you need to start from here. So for that you need to add that here in your main projects urls.py. So here you are actually adding that as part of your URL patterns. Okay, so in your URL patterns you have this include gallery image.urls. You are actually adding this. So gallery image.urls, you are actually giving it here, right? And you could see that this admin is, say, if you you know, it's about the path. Okay, so it's all about the path. So you are specifically not giving any path, you are just asking it to start from here itself, right? So that is what it is. And so now once you have actually added that in the main projects URL, then you have to set your compass. So if you have downloaded the MongoDB compass, mostly everybody would have downloaded the MongoDB compass, right? Because we have been already working on the MongoDB before. So it is already set. So you can actually skip all the steps. So you know how to create a database and its collection and everything, right? So you can actually skip this part. Otherwise you cannot skip that part. I mean, like you need to create a new database for this one. So when you create here, I mean, like your main project name is gallery block and gallery image is your application, right? So in the same way you have to create it. now the next one is actually, how can you, so you have the database MongoDB right now, how can you actually link that with the Django. So that's the next thing. So for that, what you have to do is that you need to go to the settings.py. Settings.py is only for the project, and for the settings.py you have to scroll down, and you will have a default SQLite, I mean, like, even if you are not connecting your database with, I mean, like, your Django code with any of the database, by default it is actually connected with SQLite, okay, SQLite 3. So even if you might not be specifically seeing it, but it is already connected with SQLite 3. So so we need to change that engine to the Django engine. So Django is basically a database, I mean, like a connector. It's kind of a connector which connects the MongoDB and the Django, okay. So it's kind of a DB engine, okay, it's kind of a DB engine which actually connects the MongoDB with the Django, okay. So its name is Djongo, so don't misspell it, it is Djongo, DJONGO, okay. There is only one letter difference, so if you make a difference, then you will not be able to understand, you will make errors. And the name is basically, say if you are using the SQLite, say you could see that this is a default path, I mean, like os.path, base directory, SQLite server, you can actually get that, it's correctly given here. So now here in our case it's our project, right. So gallery blog is the name of your database, okay. So this is what you have to understand. So this step has to be given here. So now that means that you have actually connected with the database. So once you have connected with the database, you have to go back and do something on the right. We will try working on that, right. So for that, what you have to do is that go back to your galleries, I mean, like, gallery image, the applications view.py. In the view.py, basically you are actually saying that whether you are on track or not. So basically I have actually progressed with the rest of the program, that's why. So the first thing that you have to try is this one. So when you try that, now what you have to do is that you need to, it's just an HTML response. It's kind of, say you have this, you have actually imported this HTML response here, and you are actually taking a request, right. So for the request, it will take this response, that's all. It's like a normal HTTP request and response procedure. So it will take a request, and for the request it will give you a response, and now it's nothing, it's very simple, this is the response which you have to give, right. And now you have to create your model. So when you create your model, the model is basically created for your application, and for the application you have this models.py file. So in that you are basically creating 3 different fields. So understand, first one is the title, then you have a description, then image. So when you go back to your image here, so you have see here you have a title, and this is the description, and there is an image. So this is the pattern which we actually follow for every image. So there is a title, and there is a description, and then image. So again, title, description, image, right. So this is basically the one which is actually we are actually going to push in the database, okay. So this is exactly what we are doing in models.py. In models.py, I am actually giving the name gallery, okay. So you are actually importing all the models here, right, and then in your gallery you are actually taking models.model. So these are all the default statements which you have to follow in Django. And then title, your title is a char field, a character field, and then you have a description which is a text field, and then image should be a character field of, because you are basically giving the URL. You are, say, the one thing which you have to understand here is that if you have an application, you are never going to save your images. Say even if you have an up and running application, you are not going to save the images, you are just going to save the location of those images, that's it, okay. So because otherwise, so mainly in your Azure or normally in the normal applications you will be using a cloud, right. So if you are using a cloud database or something like, not the cloud database, I mean like Azure cloud or AWS cloud or something like that for storing the images and everything. So normally you will not dump your cloud with all the images, rather than that you will just put the locations there, so that your application is not becoming slow to respond, right. So that's what it is here. So this is exactly what we are actually talking about. So you have 3 different fields, and now what you have to do is that whenever the main thing which you have to understand here and keep in mind is that whenever you do some changes, say tomorrow you are actually changing this character field to a text field or some other field. So whatever changes which you do on your models, then you have to do the make migrations, you have to migrate. Okay, so make migration is that you are actually gathering all the migrations that has to be applied, and that will be considered. And now migrate, there are two different steps in that. One is the make migration and the second one is migrate. So migrate means you are actually pushing those changes back to the MongoDB or whichever database you are using, right, SQLite or whatever it is. So that is nothing but migration. So migration, the first step is actually the make migration. So in make migration you will identify what all things you need to do. So and that will be actually pushed onto your database. So here it is. So say here, so that will be actually pushed onto your database by using the migrate. Okay, so in between that, we are also using this, we are actually trying to include this Django. Okay, so for that you are actually using this pip install Django. Okay, so this is what you are actually doing. So pip install Django, it is Django. So it is just an improvement of your PyMongo. PyMongo is also an a connector which actually connects between the Mongo, the Python Mongo and the Django, right. So this is a better version, this is actually an improved version. So this is the connector which we are actually using. It basically uses the object document mapping. So don't worry about that. So whatever data which you have to push, whatever changes you have done, that will be clean. I mean, like that data will be directly pushed onto the database. So you don't have to worry about major validations or integrity checks. I mean, like even if you modify something, that is basically pushed by these two steps, like make migrations and migrate. Then you can run your server. So once you run your server, you can see that are we on the track. So how did we get that? This is from our normal views. Okay, in the view, with the first one which we did is this one. Okay, so we had this HTTP response, and then we were actually trying to push the statement. These two statements we added later, we will discuss about it later. Okay, so now we need to create an object. So for that, what we have to do is that first we need to create a folder. So we have a folder like static gallery image. So when you look over here, so you have this static and gallery image. So these are the three different things which you are actually creating. When you look over here also, you could see that you have static, gallery, image, right. So this is the path which is, so all these names are really important. So don't get confused by the gallery class and the gallery names. All these names are really important, because if you want your pictures to be displayed back in the in your website, you have to give this path. So it is very important to understand and use the exact name. Ma'am, I am putting it correctly, but I am not getting it. Go back and check multiple times the path which you have given is correct or not, or so all these things are really important. Okay, so for this, what we are basically doing is that we put three different images in the database. We have a cow image, right. So we do have a cow image, we have a Niagara image, we have this river image. These are the three images that we have actually put inside this thing, so that you could actually see here also in the Visual Studio. Say you have your cow image and you have this Niagara image and you have this river image, right. So these are the things which you could see here. And now what we have to do is that now we have to go to the normal, so this always, people will make mistakes. So now we are going to push these images to the MongoDB. Okay, so for that you have to take the normal command prompt. Okay, this is your normal command prompt. Normal command prompt, how will you take your normal command? Your CMD command, right. So this is your normal command prompt. In the normal command prompt, I need to go to the path where I can actually, where all this files are basically stored. So I am going to the path, in the path which I want. So this is the path which I want, right. So I am just going to that particular path and say here it is gallery blog is the name of that. So I am just going inside the gallery blog, right. So I am just going inside till gallery blog. So if you want to see here, I am just taking this. So gallery blog, so cd gallery blog, Okay, I am just going inside that. So here this is the, so this is one thing which I wanted to tell you. So you are actually working on the normal command prompt. So in the normal command prompt you have to run python manage.py shell, python manage.py shell. That means it will take the Python's corresponding interactive console. Okay, so you are now in the Python's console. Okay, you are in the Python's console, and in the Python's console, you are going to run certain commands. The first one is import, I mean like from gallery dot models, gallery image dot models, import gallery. Then the second one you have to type as destination 1. So here you could see gallery, this gallery is nothing but this class. Okay, in the models.py you have this gallery class, right? So in this you have to give title, description, image. Exactly, that is what is actually giving you are giving it here. Okay, so in the file you could see that you are giving a title, right? Then you are giving the description and you are giving the path of your image. Okay, so how can you find it? So in the gallery and image and cow.jpg. So this is how, you don't have to give the static explicitly because it will be given later. So now if you give like destination 1.save, then you can actually give like that, and this is like for the gallery it's a class, right? So when you think about a class, you are actually creating the objects for it, right? So you are actually instantiating and creating, and instantiation means you are actually creating objects for the class. So that's the same concept here. So say gallery.objects.all, that means it will return all the objects. You can even try getting a certain data from here, right? Results of 0.title. So you will get, see here the title is actually displayed here as cow. So this is how it is. You can add more. So the meaning of this is that when you are doing like this, why are we doing all this? We are doing all this because we want to push this data to the MongoDB, right? So when you follow this particular thing, and when you are pushing, say you have actually pushed the first image. So when you push this first image, you could see that the first image is now available in the image gallery under the gallery block in MongoDB. That means that you are actually pushing this exactly like that onto the MongoDB. So in the MongoDB, as you all know that this is the unique ID which is created, and an ID name is actually given, and the title is there, description is there, and the image, its path is basically given here, right? So in the same way we are actually using two more, we are actually giving two more data, and we are actually pushing that. So when you look onto the MongoDB, when you add that, and then when you after the saving, you could see that the data is actually pushed onto the MongoDB. Now one major thing which you have to keep in mind is that once you push the data onto the MongoDB, always people will not worry about it later. I mean like, oh, the data is pushed, okay, my job is done. No, your job is not done as a programmer, because when you are working with images, it's very, very critical to make sure that all the data that is there in the MongoDB is actually correct, whether the data is actually pushed onto the in the right way. So when you look at the first one, it's gallery, image, cow. It's very good. It's awesome. Like it's correctly actually updated. But when you look at the second one, it's gallery, image, then n is gone. Okay, n is gone, it is not pushed properly, right? There is some issues. And so this path, when you are trying to access this image, you will not get this image displayed in your website. So this is very, very important because people really miss this. Okay, so now the second one is like reverse. So in the reverse, when you see here, see gallery, image, and that slash is not there, r is not there, so that is missed. Why it is missed, I am not very sure why, but it is not loaded onto the MongoDB exactly, right? So now what you have to do is that in such cases, it's very, very important. In such cases, what you have to do is that you have to go back to MongoDB, right? So this is your MongoDB file, right? So when you are in the MongoDB, you will have this edit option. You can edit each and everything here. So you can actually, you have to go back here and put it correctly. So how will you know that the correct name of it? So you go back here and see the name and copy paste that and put it here. So if in case you have any updations to be done and the image or the path is not correct in the MongoDB, correct then and there. Otherwise you will definitely end up in a lot of troubles without you getting the images displayed in the database. So you need to be extremely, extremely careful here. So that's why I'm just focusing and telling over to this particular. So if you have any changes to be done here, go back here, change it and update it. So there is an update button here, so update it. So this update will help you to do all this things properly. Okay. So, this is very important. So, that is what actually is given in your thing as well. Then the next one is actually, say once you have created this images, then you have to add it onto your templates folder, because you are actually, you know, in MongoDB and sorry, in Django, everything is like model view template, right. So, you have models, you have views, and everything has to be updated in your templates as well. So, where can I find this template, ma'am? Yes, this is in the settings.py. So, definitely it is in the main project, right. So, you are going back to the settings.py. In the settings.py, you have to scroll up towards the templates, and in the templates you need to add this. You are adding this directory here, and in the directory, your base directory, in the base directory you are actually, after the base directory you are also adding gallery updates. So, where can you find this gallery updates? So, gallery updates, it's basically here, it's basically your templates folder, so this is where you have to basically add. So, this now have to be added here. Then after that, what you have to do is that, now the main thing which you have to give is that, it was not gallery for us, it is actually gallery image and template. So, in the gallery image you have this templates, that is the meaning of it. So, that we need to do it. So, I am just updating here as well. So, it is gallery image updates, and here also it is gallery image, that is the name of our folder, right. So, this has to be done. And now the next one is basically, you know, say if in case, so this is something which you have to keep in mind. Sometimes, you know, you will get an error that, you know, OS is not found or something like that. So, just go back here in your file and make sure that you have this import OS. So, if you have anything like that, you know, just make sure that you have this import OS, because other you know, unless or otherwise you do not have this import OS, none of your you know, settings.py, because for when you are working with the images, settings.py has to be perfect. Only if the settings.py file is completely perfect, because that is where all the settings are basically, configurations are done. So, that configuration has to be extremely correct, otherwise you will not get the things, right. Now, the other main thing which you have to keep in mind is that, say if you are working with the images, okay, there are two things which you have to understand in Django. Okay. The first one which you have to understand is that, you know, you can either take the images from the database and put it here on the, I mean like on your website, or you can actually, you know, upload an image, right. So, you can either retrieve the image from somewhere, or you can actually upload an image. So, when you are actually working with the upload images, that is how, you know, I am making it simple for you. It is not exactly like this, but I am just trying to make it as simple as possible for you. So, if you want to retrieve from your database and put it on your website, you have to use the static, because static is static and media is for all your images and everything, video files and everything. And media is basically for whenever you are actually uploading something onto the website. Say you have an upload button, you have to upload your photo, or you are updating your profile picture, something like that, then you have to use this media as well, right. So, the static and media actually basically go hand in hand. So, you have to give your, so all these things has to be given in the settings.py. So, you have the static, media, and then you have to give the static media, and so all these things. Static media is basically like, you know, say you are basically getting a directory, you are actually creating a directory for the media, that is all it is. So, you could see here one thing called, you know, static. So, this is basically like, you know, a folder which is actually created when you are using the collect static. So, that we will talk about it later. So, now comes the you know, the Django blog.urls. That means you have to say you have given the path. So, when you look at this file, the settings.py, when you scroll down, you could see that all this data is basically updated here. So, you have the static URL, you are giving the media URL, and you are actually creating a file here. So, static, right. So, so this is our normal static thing which we have actually created, right. And you do have this, this one I will explain it a little bit later, because I do not want you to get confused why it is so. Okay. Now, you are also giving the static root, that static, gallery and image is the root, I mean like that, and then the file directory is basically from the static. So, you are actually providing all those information here, which is actually required in the static.py. Once you have actually given that, then the next one is actually you need to go back to the main gallery block. So, this is your project, and in that the urls.py you need to update it. I mean like you need to tell that wherever you have got URLs, you might use this static files. So please include that. So don't throw any error when you see my applications using this. Here you are just telling it in initial thing itself. So in the gallery block, urls.py, in the urls.py, see here you are actually including two things. One is this one, okay. So it is conf.urls.static, and you have to also, you are actually getting all those settings here from the settings file. So conf import settings. So these two things are really important, okay. So for using the static, because you are actually telling that you have I have given all the static whatever things has to be whatever route and the path and everything in the settings. So you have to import the settings, and in that go and search for the static folder, so that you will understand that what are the paths that I am going to use for the static files. So you are just telling I mean, like, this is the main URL. From this URL you are actually I mean, like, you have this gallery and everything here, right. So you will actually move to all other URLs, all of the application URLs from here. So you need to tell it correctly, right. So that's why. So here you could see that the statement is very important. This is kind of a weird statement, but you have to use the statement, and the statement has to be exactly like this. There is no difference for any other program wherever you use. If you are using static plus URL patterns plus, so say if you are using the media file, you have to even use this one, right. So media URL patterns plus, so this you could actually give it as two separate files if you are using both. Now as I am we are using only the static, we are giving this this one, okay, here so there is a settings.static underscore URL. This has to be given exactly like this. This is not found by me, this is found by the people who have invented this, I mean, like, created this. And static root, so settings.static root. So this static root is what we will actually go and check in the settings.py. In the settings.py you have the static root, right, and you have the static URL. So whatever you are using here, that's why you are actually imported the settings file itself, right. And so this is very important. So now you have actually included the static say you are going to use this images and everything, and these are all the path and everything. You have actually communicated with the urls.py also, right. Now the next one is, okay, from where can I start? So for where can I start, I have my templates. So now I am going to create a I mean, like, HTML file, because I want it to be displayed in my in the website, right. I want something to be displayed like a like this one in my, right. So this I get this information from the HTML file, right. So where can I do that? So what I am doing is that I am going back to the templates here. In the templates, as we have seen before, like say always your templates folder will have the HTML files, right. All your HTML files and related JS files and everything will be here in the templates folder. So that's why model view template. So view model template is MVT, is not is the format which is basically used in Django. Okay, you have model files, you have views, you have models. So views, it's just for presentation purposes, like you're just telling what all things are required for the presentation. And the models file, it's exactly what we want in the presentation. And this T templates are those where we actually create them. So in the here say you can have registration, you can have multiple things on your website, right. You can have multiple tabs and multiple things on your website. So it's always better that in the template folder, say if you have registration, then you can have a folder called login folders. In that login folder or registration folder, you can have both like login, registration, etc. It's kind of you're organizing things in different folders. So here I am just using this gallery folder. In the gallery folder, I have this gallery.html. So in the, see here, the first thing you have to see is that, see here, there is something called load. This is a template folder. So this is a template. I mean, like, whatever is within this load static will be actually loaded. So load static means it's in the settings.py, it is actually given to your urls.py. So everything it knows what is static by this time. So it's just telling that load all this static files, so that you're ready if you are going to use any images or files or CSS files or JS or whatever it is, I'm ready to work on that. So it's just kind of a kickstart which is given to the HTML file that I am going to use some static files, so better go and check in the roots there, I mean, like the path there, so don't complain later. So it's kind of something which is actually given there. And then in this file, it's very simple. So you're actually taking each object at a time. So that means like you have multiple images, right. So in your gallery itself, you have multiple images here. So I mean, like, take each image at a time. So everything will be created as an object. So how do you know that it's created as an object? Because in the models file we have a gallery class. So we know that everything is actually created like a object. So basically you have created this gallery objects is equal to gallery dot object. So this gallery is basically the class which you have seen in the models .py, okay, and this is the objects dot all. So you are taking all the objects. Now here it is actually put in, so each of the objects will be there in the gallery objects, right. So how are you getting it? So you are requesting, and this is the HTML. So it is there in the HTML, you have to use it in your HTML, and you will have your gallery objects, which is nothing but gallery underscore objects. So that's it. So these are all the default statements, like, you know. So the main thing which you have to understand here is that, so if you are changing your names, you should very clearly know that, you know, say gallery / gallery dot HTML. So this is how I am actually giving the path. Now gallery objects, where I am getting my gallery objects, so it is from my models. Okay. Now I have this gallery object, so this is the gallery dot object. So now in my views I have actually given the name, right, gallery underscore objects. So gallery underscore objects colon gallery underscore objects. So the main thing which you have to understand here is that, so if in case you see something which is related to yeah, something within this, so this is it's a code logic. So here, you know, you are just printing it. So when you look at it when you look at the thing again, so this is something which is actually printed, and this is something which is you know, which is actually taken. So these objects will be printed. So this objects you have to give it to the, I mean, like, you will take each object in this and you will print it, right. So this is what you have to understand. So this is something which you should know. And now the next one which you have, so this is what we have done basically, right. So we have this gallery object. So and after that, you know, we are going to use it in our in this. So this is the first thing which they are actually trying to do, is actually a simple one, like you are taking each item in the gallery object. So you are taking one, so it's kind of a for loop, it's like an iteration. So in the iteration, the first thing which they are doing is they are not printing any images here, they are simply printing the title and the description. So probably when you run your code, you will get a cow and the description, Niagara and the description, reverse and the description. There is no image at all, because we are not asking this in the gallery.html, we are not asking it to print any image at all. Now we need to add our image, right. So for that, the first thing, as I told you, is load static. It's very important for each item. Then this is the default tag which you have to use, the image tag. So we are actually using the image tag which we use in the HTML itself. So everything else we are just keeping it as such. Then src, it's a source from where we have to get it. So this is codes and this colon, everything is very important. So whatever we print within, this is the code logic, right. So item, so this is the item. For each item you are actually traversing from one item to another item dot image. Okay, so this is how you have to give item dot image, and this alternative has to be given. I mean, like, you know, you have to print something by default. So this is the title. So this title also has to be given, right. So this is how you will actually print it. So when you look at the, so this step, you know, when you look at this step, you know, you will feel like it's very simple, but trust me, this can cause you a lot of issues if you are not having the data correctly in your database, and if you are not giving the path correctly in the static in the settings.py. So you will get I mean, like, hell of a time if you are not giving all these things correctly. So that's why I am just, you know, telling you initially itself, just make sure that you are actually giving all these details correctly. So here, so there are different ways of giving it. I'll talk about it later if required. Otherwise, static. So item dot image, and you are actually giving item dot title. So that's it, right. So this is the thing which you have to give. So we are almost there. So once we do it, when we run the image, we will get this. So when we run our server, okay, our server is already running here, so it's not an issue. Once we run our server, okay, so now when you go back here and when you update it, you have this you know, making a trial. So when you look at your page, okay, so make a trial with this particular page, right. So that is actually printed. Yes, that is printed. Now what all things you have to print? You have to print item dot title. Yes, item dot title for the first item is actually cow, yeah, because in this particular, see, the first item is basically cow, right, and first item is actually printed. Now what is that? Item dot description, right. When you look at here, there is a description which is actually printed here. Now what is the second one? Third one is basically the image, right. So this image is basically printed. Now like that you have to print it for all the items. So you have to take Niagara and you have to repeat the same, and then you have to, so it's kind of a for loop which is actually doing it. So this output you will get it only if you are actually very careful about the path and the name of everything which you are actually giving. So in some places, you know, say even though you have this templates gallery, I mean like you don't have to give templates / gallery, because if you give templates, it's like it's inbuilt there, it understands it, right. So at the locations where you use it, sometimes it understands that. So you don't have to give like template /, because template / if you use it, it will throw you an error. So you have to give only gallery / gallery.html. That is only enough. That's enough, because it knows here that, you know, you are referring to the template. Okay. So in some places you have to do like that. Say in the settings.py file, say you are actually giving this static gallery image, right. And say if you are actually using this where was it, I forgot. Yeah, somewhere, you know, when we are actually accessing it, we are not actually giving the complete path, we are actually not giving the complete path, we are actually giving only half the path. So that is something which you have to understand. So how we give the path is on like how it is actually the syntax of that particular item is all about. So that you have to be very careful. And yeah, so once you get your, say when you are using the static, okay, just make sure that you are I mean like, see here, so this is why it is. So the templates, you are actually already given this gallery image template. So this is the template by default we are actually going to use. So that's why here when you go back to your views, you are actually only giving this gallery. So for this render, you know that the second parameter will has to be something, you know, you have to take it from the template. So it already knows that in the settings.py that this is the template which is actually going to use. So you don't have to give like gallery image / template / you know, gallery / you don't have to give that much, you have to give only the rest of the information, right. And you have actually, this is the connection which you will do with the databases, and then the other one is this one. So this is the static media, static gallery image. So all these things are basically given. So here you are actually giving, so where the directory starts from. So directory basically starts from static. So you are already providing this information here, right. So like that. So settings.py has to be perfect. If your settings.py is actually perfect, and if you are actually giving all these paths, you know, the path which we are actually using here in the correct way, even here in the mainly in the views.html and in the views.py and in the gallery, right. If you are actually able to give all the things correctly, then basically you will get the data, I mean like the images displayed onto your screen also properly. Okay. So that's all about this video. So in this video we have just seen about how we can actually display, I mean like you have your Mongo compass. So all the data are here in the compass, you have actually pushed it onto your database. From the database you are actually getting those data, okay, you are actually getting those data displayed onto the website, right. So that is what we have seen. We will also see one another example where you can actually it's actually part of your bigger scenario. So where you can actually get all your data from within the database onto the screen by uploading the images. So that we will see soon, but other than this, this is like getting the data from the database and displaying it over to the screen. So hope you understood it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. If you have any confusions or anything like that, you can put it on the comment section and we'll try to address those issues. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Thanks.